So I was pregnant with my fourth child, and I was really struggling with the pregnancy as well as managing the other three at most times on my own because my husband was working a lot. And I missed my mom and I needed her, to be honest with you. And I remember having to take a break from work, and my lovely boss, who was like, "Tell your mom, ask her if she can come and help you out." And I remember giving my mom a call, and within 3 weeks, she was on a plane to come and help me out for a few months. So obviously, she is from Canada. I'm from Canada, but I live in the UK. And my mom was retired, so she didn't really have much to do, and she adored particularly her first my firstborn, because I remember her being there when he was born, helping me and my husband, taking care of him. She stayed for about just over a month and was really helpful. Yeah, she got on my nerve at times. But when I look back at it, I'm like, I don't think it was that. I just took everything what the nurse, the midwife was telling me what I need to do, especially when it came to feeding. And there was my mom in my ear saying, "You're not feeding him enough." And I would be like, like, leave me alone. I know what I'm doing. And I'm like, no, I really didn't know what I was doing. Trust me, mothers know. Okay. And anyways, I just remember so her coming, and she came on, I won't forget, she came on Christmas Day. We picked her up at Gatwick Airport. And I remember her coming home, the children greeting her and everything, and got her all settled in. I remember she slept for a bit because that journey from Canada to the UK is quite long, right? So um, I was so excited because I knew that my mom was gonna help me the way she helped me with my firstborn. So I was like, yeah, great. And she's gonna be cooking me some good food. And I was like, Mom, okay, now that you're here, I need you to cook me some oxtail and rice and peas, because oxtail and rice and peas is my favorite, next to curry goat and rice and peas. Okay. And she's like, yeah, yeah, I'll do that for you. And I was like, great. So we celebrate Christmas. And then I think it might have been a couple of days after, we went out, or no, my husband's mom took my mom to Brixton to get all the meat that we needed to make the oxtail. So she comes home and she starts making it. And I just remember her just asking me stuff like, how do you make it? What do you put in it? And I should also mention, let me go back a bit. So I had told my mom to bring some stuff back home from Canada with her. And I said, whatever you do not put it in your carry-on because they will confiscate it. And she comes and she's like, they took everything. I said, where'd you put it? In my carry-on. I said, Mom, I told you not to put it in there. Why did you put it in there? Oh, I forgot. I'm not thinking anything of it then, right? Because my mom and I talked a lot when, um, I moved to the UK. I mean, sometimes it could be anywhere between 2 to 3 times a week, and we would just talk. And there were times where now thinking back, where she would just be like, "Oh, your mom," I'd ask her something and she'd be like, "I can't remember. Your mom's getting so old. Nowadays, I can't remember." I remember one time when I went to visit her and she just had sticky notes, those post-it notes everywhere with like just writing on stuff. If she needed to remember something, she would write on it and stick it somewhere. But again, didn't think anything of it because my mom was always like that. But it was a little bit more to an extreme at that point. So I didn't think anything of it. So now that she's in the UK, I was like, okay, whatever, with regards to what was taken from her at the airport. And so when it came down to her making oxtail for me and her asking me all these questions on how to make it, and I was like, I don't know how to make oxtail. You're the one. You've been cooking oxtail for all my life. Like, I don't know anything when it comes to making oxtail. Surely you should know. You've been doing this for pretty much all your life. She just was getting very frustrated. So I remember saying to my husband, I'm going to have a little talk with my aunt. So my aunt and her, they're really, really close, right? And they did everything together. So I was like, okay, when my aunt calls, I'm gonna ask her. So she calls me, and I remember saying, Auntie, what is going on with Mom? Because she's been asking me how to make oxtail, and I don't know how. Why is she asking me? So my aunt straight up was just like, oh, your mom, she has severe memory loss. The doctor told her this, and he's now put her on some pills, and she's been taking that, but he wants her to get like a scan on her brain when she comes back from visiting you. And I'm like, okay, cool. But again, nothing, not thinking anything of it. And then not only that, I'm like, why didn't she say anything to me? I talk to her all the time. How is it that I don't know this? Like, I'm her daughter. I tell her everything. She tells me everything. Like, we're close like that. And I'm her only child on top of that. Okay. So she doesn't, so she stays with me. And what was supposed to be like, I think she was supposed to stay for like 5 months, ended up being like about just over 4 months. Um, because within that time frame, my mom's behavior, um, uh, attitude, uh, just everything, she just wasn't the mom I knew. She changed, and it wasn't really, when I say for the good, in the sense of it was just wreaking havoc in our household, particularly with like the relationships that she had with my kids. Um, and I just remember at times being like, "What is wrong with you? Like, you weren't like this with the first one." I remember when I came home with my fourth child, gave birth, came home the next day, and she's the little one is in her car seat because we just came in, and the siblings are gathering around, their aunt is gathering around, and my mom wasn't. So after everything calmed down, and my sister-in-law goes home, and I'm sitting on the sofa with my mom, like I'm walking with the baby to the sofa, and I'm like, you haven't held your granddaughter, like, don't you want to hold her? And she's like, oh, I don't, I'm like, okay, this is really weird because my mom, all she wanted was grandbabies. So I finally gave her grandbabies. And like I said, she was amazing with the first one, standoffish with the second one. She wasn't really there for the third one because of COVID. But when the fourth one came, she kind of acted the same way she did with the second one. And I was like, okay. So now I'm really thinking back, the dementia kind of started around the second one, my second child. And again, I remember speaking to my cousin and my auntie when they were asking me. We had a cousin who died, and we were planning the funeral, and there were meetings that happened to prepare the funeral, but I didn't go to any of them. And I remember my cousin when she had asked me, "How's your mom?" And I was like, I can't really put my finger on it, but she reacting weird. And she's like, I was thinking the same thing too. And again, none of us caught on to this. And mind you, my grandma, her mom, had dementia. And when I think about all the signs, all that happened with my grandma, that took years for them to realize and diagnose her with dementia, it was like, wait a second, nothing clicked, which is crazy. Okay. Um, Again, when I say, like, I would have conversations with my mom a lot, and I remember there were a couple where she would always say that someone, she lived in a condo, and she would say that the superintendent's wife would come in her house, her condo, and take her coats. And I just remember being like, what? Now, I guess because I didn't like him, I thought he was shady myself. I kind of just brushed that off, not thinking again, what the hell is my mom talking about? So, anyways, when it got too much and my mom just had to go home, I remember in the car with her driving back to Gatwick, and this is when it, like, I don't know, for some reason, that moment, that day, it was like, no, no, no. Okay, now I'm definitely not going crazy. Something's wrong with her head. And we're in the car. She says bye to her grandkids. We take a picture. My husband's there. My husband's watching the kids as I go to take my mom to the airport. And we're almost there. And she goes to me, "Is your husband at work?" And I said, "No, Mom, he's with the kids." A couple minutes later, "Is your husband at work?" I was like, what? Okay. So instead of me saying, "Mom, you already asked me that," and I just said, I knew then, I was like, there's no point because something's definitely not right with Mom. So when she got to the airport and I gave her a kiss and a hug and I said my goodbyes, the last thing I said to her is like, please, when you get home, go and check your brain. Have a scan on your brain because something's not right. And she just shooed me off like, whatever, please, bye, I love you. You take care, right? And it was like, I remember like rolling my eyes like, oh God, okay. So I remember that being in April. And then by the summertime, July, August, she was diagnosed with dementia. She never told me that she was diagnosed with dementia. I had to hear it from her sister, my aunt. And I look back again, I think, I don't know why she never said anything. Because at this moment in time, you know, she was in and out with remembering things, but she knew me. She knew me enough to still have a hold a conversation. She knew my name. And again, I guess because I was just so occupied with family life, raising 4 kids, all under the age at that time, of I think 8, no, 7, under the age of 7. It was a lot. I had a lot to carry, right? And I'm not gonna lie, I remember there were times where my mom was like, "You don't call enough. You don't call me often." And I'd be like, "Mom, I'm busy. I barely can get any sleep. I'm struggling to get the kids to bed. I'm struggling all day. It's all me." So by the time I sit down and have a moment to try and gather myself together, I'm like knocked out. So please forgive me. I'm trying. And yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. But I just remember after that. So now this is in the summer. And then by the end of the year, it just got really worse to the point where my mom started having like episodes of crying because she was lonely in her condo. She felt like no one was talking to her. And I remember her, because people were talking to her, but I think she just didn't like to be alone. So my aunt, because they lived down the street from each other, was like, come stay with me, come have dinner with me, come in the morning. So every morning she'd, get herself together and then she'd go to my aunt's. But then it got really bad where she couldn't even cook because she was forgetting a lot now. I remember my dad, who my mom wasn't married to at all, but I remember having a conversation with him when he called me and was concerned about my mom. And I realized I didn't tell him that she has dementia. And he was like, she called talking to me as if like she didn't know me, but was talking about me. Like, I dated this guy, blah, 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 and this and that. And he was like, yeah, that's me, right? And I just remember being like, geez, this is really happening rapidly. But I just didn't think it was going to be that fast. Looking back now, all the signs were so clear. But I think what made it hard was the fact that I was thousands of miles away from my mom. I can guarantee you that if I was living with her and not here in the UK, I would have picked up on those things immediately. But I think my mom was just, I don't know if she was protecting me. I don't know if she was in denial, because as to why she just never spoke about what was going on with her, to me at least, will always make me wonder. I will always. Because I thought I was really close enough to her for her to be like, "Sweetheart, I need to sit you down and talk to you about something." I mean, there's so many things that just go through my head about what was she thinking, why didn't she, and all that stuff. And I can really rack my brain and it's just pointless. But yeah, I don't know why mom didn't say anything to me, because it's left me in a position, in a state of a lot of pain. I'm not gonna cry. A lot of pain, a lot of sadness, a lot of oh God, just everything. If the emotional roller coaster that I'm on because of this disease, it just sucks, okay? And I just wish she was just open, just talk, mom, talk, tell me. We could have cried together. We could have had more conversations together, because now she doesn't even know who I am, okay? And it is very hard to watch your parent literally lose their mental capabilities. My mom always used to say, once an adult, twice a child. And literally, that is what she's becoming. And I miss her a lot. If you only knew what I have been going through. And the thing is, only people who are going through what I'm going through must know. Because I have struggled. And everybody around me, bless them. But it's like, oh, they try to tell me, you've done or you're doing the best you can, and there's only so much you could do. And it's like easier said than done when you're not living it, when your parent does not have dementia. Your parent is perfectly fine and living their life in retirement or in old age. You know, you don't have to ponder and wonder and all those things like I have. And I just miss her. I really do. God.